Good afternoon, everybody. At least I think that's what time it still is. We're in the fishbowl at FDIC 2024. I'm Stephanie White, the host of 5 After Midnight podcast. I am joined by Corey Pern from Crackle, John Vogt from Rescue One CBD. Before we begin, John drew the short straw to have to read this all-important message from Firehouse Subs for you guys.
Yeah, I love Firehouse Subs, so I'm the guy to read it.
I haven't eaten them, so I didn't feel like I could
so
ethically read this ad.
Yeah, this studio is brought to you by Firehouse Subs and the Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation. Enjoy more subs, save more lives. Find out more about restaurant ownership at www.firehousesubsfranchising.com. Very good.
I'm kind of allergic to wheat, so I just felt like there was an ethics
You're
thing
kind of
involved.
allergic. That means you can
Kind
have
of.
a little bit.
Like
and just
there's
give yourself
there's
some.
Benadryl and projectile
You're good.
vomiting
You're
involved.
good. Yeah.
So, gentlemen, welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you. This is really cool. Yeah.
It's definitely been a heck of a day. I've run into you guys a bunch of times just running around the floor. It's noisy, it's loud. There's people everywhere.
Yes.
But
And somehow we made it here on time.
somehow we made it here on
Almost.
120 seconds early. Corey was in charge of hair and makeup, so I don't know how it turned out, but hopefully I don't look like too much of a mess.
Yeah. What have you guys been up to?
Running around, meeting with Corey.
Yeah, we had a meeting today. Just meetings, really. Just trying to get out there and
Listening to some really, really good
Yeah.
instructors.
yeah.
Following Chief Rhodes around.
Yeah, I'm glad that we have us three together. I feel like one thing that I've noticed over the course of the last 4 years that I've been coming here is that health and wellness in general and the appreciation of it is like really starting to come up.
Yeah.
And I mean, just what you guys have done with Crackle and having that entire side of the fire service that kind of not really looked at very much. Be the center focus of the magazine, and then Steph with all your writing and all this stuff, and what I hope I'm trying to do with CBD and bringing that wellness side to it. It's cool just to share the space with you guys. So I'm really glad to be here with both of you.
Yeah, definitely mutual.
So the reason I actually asked you two gentlemen, out of all the people running around here, to be on the show is Clarion, who owns Fire Engineering. They're starting a new health and wellness publication. So everything that's on fire engineering, that's leadership related, health, wellness, mental health, physical health, you name it, is all moving over to this new publication, Fire Nation. They brought me on as their managing editor, and it's next year we're really going to see such a huge expansion in the soil of the health and wellness section of it all, and it's past due. I mean, you've started to see the ball kind of slowly rolling.
Yeah.
Bringing in more and more vendors. Corey, we always hear, but hopefully next year, especially with the start of the publication, you're just going to see that whole section become an actual section that people are going to want to visit and see and learn. But the main reason I brought you two on board is you guys are also personal friends of mine, and I think we all really have the same philosophy about health, which is we're really coming out of this era of the big stuff. The go hard or go home with the CrossFit, the paleo, just these huge extreme diets. And I think we all share the concept that health is really about micro adjustments, about, hey, you don't have to go out and change your lifestyle. Maybe start with sleep. Or maybe start by not eating fast food out. You're never going to make a huge change, making these maximum jumps. The firefighters are notorious for making. It's what we love to do. We love the extremes.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to bring you guys on to talk about kind of the new wave of health, a new revolutionary wave of just all the little micro ways people are starting to do better about taking care of their health, their mental health, their wellness. Corey, what are you seeing? I mean, you've got an entire publication devoted to it.
Yeah, we have to look at the person that is the firefighter, and that person has to be able to go to work. And we're getting away from taking care of, managing our personal lives so we can have enough capacity to do our job, right? So that shift has to happen. And I think, but it has to be taken more seriously. And it's not complicated, but it definitely has to be a bit of an effort. Change behaviors, understand why we feel the way we do after a shift, integrating back into our household. understanding that dynamic. And I think there's a lot to unpack there. And I think a lot of work to do, but we can, we do it together, and we do it by learning from each other. That's always been the firefighter way. And we learn from each other. That's really what Crackle's trying to do is kind of unearth what makes us us, and then trying to keep us whole. I've been saying, like, we don't need to be more. We just don't want to lose ourselves, and that's what we're all fighting for, right? Every day we're asking ourselves, am I the mother I am? Am I the dad I want to be? And it's really kind of paying attention to how you're doing, and then do more of the things that are working, and absorb the things that aren't working. Right? We're not perfect. We will be, and so that's a shift that I'd like to see. It's more forgiveness and a little bit more effort. So
I hate to use the words kinder, gentler, but when it comes to how you treat yourself, just being a little kinder, gentler with, look at what I'm up against while trying to be healthy. I'm up against being exhausted,
yes,
which is, I mean, I think it's so completely underrated how being exhausted all the time affects just everything. Affects how you interact with people, affects the foods you eat, affects even maybe not sleeping even the next night because you're so wound up and exhausted and napped and caffeinated and all that. Tom, that's where you come in, is sleep. You are the sleep guru in my personal book. You've taught me a lot about it.
I don't want to take any of it as my stuff. I mean, I'm trying to.
But you're the science nerd of it. Like, you've gone and you've looked it all up.
I nerd out for sure, and I hope to bring some of that to the fire service, because one thing you said, I really want to, both of you, that I really want to kind of highlight is that, like, I don't think it is kinder or gentler to look at yourself and say, I want to be more healthy. I think it actually takes courage, and it's actually like, I know we look at it as like, this is the kinder, gentler way to handle yourself in the fire service. But damn, it's hard to say in a group of type A's, like, I want to be healthier. I want to take care of my sleep outside of work. Everyone just has this natural reaction. This is a reaction I get a lot with the CBD stuff, is everyone's like, if you can't cut it, quit. That's like the first thing. So it takes, I think what you guys are trying to do with saying, take care of yourselves off duty, make sure you're being healthy. That takes courage, because it's so easy to just fit in and just be like, I'll sleep when I'm dead. I can't stand that stupid saying anymore. And I like being at a business. I like working really hard. I like running a lot of calls. Sometimes it means running lots of calls after midnight. I don't want to stop doing that, but I do want to take care of how we deal with our sleep after. And that means that we have to look at each other and say, look, it's cool to be really, really into the job and also take care of yourself. What's wrong with trying to also be healthy? If you like working at a busy house, if you like going to fires, if you like staying in a position where you can do this for a long time, do you want to be doing this when you're 50-something? Or do you want to have your autoimmune, your chronic illness, your sleep issues, cancer, all these other things that are going to start to affect us that are related to sleep, take you out early, And it's like, be willing to have the courage to say this stuff, that you're saying. I want to live a healthier lifestyle. I want to take care of my sleep when I'm off duty. I want to pay attention to how my cortisol levels are affecting, me, and inflammation and all the things that are just kind of like, that's hippie stuff. Just pull hose, Be good at that stuff too. I love the job, but I like the idea that we're in a generation now where we can sit here with each other and say, it's also cool to learn how you can keep your body and your mind healthier for longer, so you can do things that you love and do them for as long as you physically want to. So sleep for me is the big one. And before I started the CBD company, sleep was such an enigma, and like, I couldn't figure out why I was able to be prescribed lots of sleep medication, but I wasn't allowed to take CBD because fear of failing a drug test. Having gone that route has led me to understand it and do all the research and stuff. So I appreciate what you're saying. And Steph knows, like, calling me a sleep, like nerding out is a huge compliment, because I hope that
it's definitely not an insult for you.
No, I'm like, thank
I
you
don't
very
think it's
much.
an insult
That's
for
really
anyone
cool.
here.
No way, right? Like that's our thing. Health nerds, sleep nerds. So
I think
hope to do that.
the hardest thing for me lately has been I've been trying to make a conscious decision to, all right, when I get slaughtered, when I get the 5 after midnight calls, you are going home and you are going to bed, or you're sleeping in at the firehouse until 8 o'clock. And I've been really trying to commit to that. And just seeing the difference that this is going to sound horrible. And I hope people who aren't firefighters are hearing this because they're going to be like, what is wrong with you people? But just an hour or two of uninterrupted sleep. The crazy difference that makes
Yeah.
coming off shift is it's scary and sad. But I'm trying to at least micro teach myself to, all right, no, you're going to go to bed. You're going to turn the phone off. You're not going to turn on the lights when you get in the house. You're just going to head straight in bed. And
if you can time a nap at the same time every day,
that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, patterns
If-
are good. Yeah.
I know people have kids, and people have other jobs. Like,
It's the school years. That's what I'm trying for
Yeah,
right now.
if.
But
it's a good thing.
Well, that's the thing too, like your career changes as your kids are younger, that, things are like, they're, moments, they're waves. And that's a way we give young children how to bounce sleep. And as they get a little older, you have to take that time. I'm notorious for not taking that time. I can count probably on one hand how many times I've come home and slept after a shift. Which is,
it's hard to
I'm
do.
saying over here on one side do this, and then on the other side I'm not. This is where I could do better, right?
Oh yeah, I'm guilty.
The worst thing I ever did was get a Whoop watch because
Well, see, I refuse. I
It's,
don't want to know.
yeah,
I
it's
don't want to know
terrible.
how bad it is.
It's
It's gonna
terrible.
send me just into a state of depression.
at the beginning
Seeing
it
how
was
little
it was
sleep.
encouraging me. It was like you just need 10 hours sleep tonight, and then it got to the point where it's just like just hang in there. Just try
You're
to do
not
your
dead
best.
yet. You
like,
still have a pulse.
yeah,
Is what it said.
so I think it's given up on it. But it's definitely, and we have to use these tools, right?
Yeah.
But again, I'm not going to beat myself up over it. It's a tool. Again, not perfect,
It's out of your
but I am
control
paying
on
attention
duty.
to it of how I do need to make changes, right? But
I
it's
think
one of those things. Yeah.
one of the most eye-opening things that I heard lately was from my 9-year-old, and he looked at me, and I'm almost 40. I had never had an ear infection as a kid. I got my first double ear infection and laryngitis or tonsillitis right before FDIC. Completely lost my voice in the middle of a call at midnight. And he had a recorder concert that unfortunately I wasn't going to be able to make it to because I was super sick, had a fever, and I told him, "Hey, baby, you're going to have to go with your dad. I'm not going to make it." And he looked at me and he said, "Mommy, you're always sick." And he wasn't wrong. So I asked somebody, I said, "Hey, how many times have I had a fever or legitimately been sick this month?" They were like, "This is like the third time." And that really made me step back. Partly because I was so broken to miss a bunch of 9-year-olds on recorders. But that really made me step back and think, what am I doing wrong? What things can I control in my life? Because to have all my kids have ever known is mommy in the fire service. I joined way before they were born, and all they've ever known is tired, sick, exhausted mommy. And I'm not ready to leave a busy house. I'm not ready to go to a slow house. Hopefully that never happens. I will just stay at that busy house until I retire. But if I'm going to make that conscious choice, I have to be willing to make these hard choices to become healthier. Because right now it's not cutting
It's not
it. Like you
sustainable.
said, yeah. How do you feel
It's
as
not
a
sustainable.
how do you feel as a parent? When your kids are noticing, hey, your job is making you lose out on time with me. It's a scary thing, and that's something that you don't want them thinking. You don't want them resenting your job. And it's hard enough on them. So it's another thing I've been focusing on is just those little micro things that I can do to protect my health if I'm going to make the choice to stay at a busy house.
I think you recognizing that and analyzing what you're saying and internalizing like that's important. That's what you have to do, right? And you did it. You were going to make an effort. and
Only
you're
because
gonna-
I had a 9-year-old.
Yeah, but it's
rattling
still,
a recorder
you still
at
have
me.
to listen, right? Opposed to like no, dismiss it. You listen, and that's all we can do, right? Let's try to take that in and it's I always say like what you're not changing, you're choosing.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's such a powerful statement because we do have choices. We do get to choose some things. And
Not
if you're
not the
choosing
calls
it,
after midnight. We
Yeah.
don't choose that.
that's right. True. And I like me not getting enough sleep. I'm making that choice to not get enough sleep. So I need to choose a different, right? I need to do better. That's
Yeah, I
the
mean,
reality.
like if we're looking at it at home, and you can say, I'm going to set up, and this is from just listening to sleep experts, like you're not going to be able to get perfect sleep. Just optimize what you can. So setting a time for yourself.
Here's where the nerdism is going to come out.
Oh yeah, you ready?
Come on, give it.
So you gotta optimize what you can. So setting a normal time for you to go to bed, and more importantly, like if you know you have to wake up at a certain time every shift, before you go home, make sure on your days off you're not sleeping in way past that time either. Set that circadian rhythm. Circadian rhythm is regulated in your brain by hormones, and some of them are cannabinoids, which is a whole other conversation that I get into that I won't right now. But the only way to fix that stuff is to get perfect sleep for an extended period of time. Not going to happen. Or to try to optimize your sleep properly and keep that in check, like manually,
Yes.
right? So you're taking naps, during the day, and like I'm a huge proponent of naps on shift, especially if you can time it so that you can take naps regularly. This time on shift. I don't know who can plan that, but that's what when you talk to like sleep experts, like you can pull off. A 15, it's like 15 to 45 minutes, 15 to 45 minute nap on shift at some point every day. That will be a huge, huge benefit of trying to keep your circadian rhythm regular. Sure.
Do you have a routine for
For
trying to
naps,
go to sleep,
for
especially
naps
after
I
shift?
was gonna say naps at the firehouse. I don't
When
know
it's
if my chief
daylight,
is gonna see this.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, if your chief's listening, you can't do that. Is that a thing? Do they don't like that? Okay. I don't know how that is.
I don't even think they know I'm here, so we're good.
And we have all right, cool. And then in Canada, is that? I don't know how the culture is.
It's changed.
Fire hall.
It's definitely changed. I've been on 20 years, and used to be at lunchtime, everyone was sleeping, and now people are still moving. They're not resting. They're not sitting. So I think that again, that balance where I don't even have to figure it out. I definitely feel better after a 20-minute nap. Definitely, it's just a break, right? And then you get up and you do all the things.
Yeah.
Really good at my captain is very good about making sure. Listen, if you need a nap, go take a nap. I mean, it's just especially the way our tours are structured. We work every other day for 3 days. So let's say we work Monday, Wednesday, Friday. By Friday, when you turn off all night, it's just go get in the bed, stop being fussy or grumpy, or you're barely functioning. Go get some sleep. It's
Widely regarded as the worst schedule in the fire service.
It really is.
Yeah.
Don't get me started. It's just the in between days, you're just trying to survive.
Yeah.
And you do miss out on a lot in life. Not a fan of that schedule, but not a fan of the 48 either. Anything that involves 2 back-to-back days, I'm out on that. And I know a lot of guys who are on that love it, but I also haven't talked to anybody who's been super busy
That's my question.
and loved it.
Yeah. I'm not doing
So-
48s all the time in my department. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I try to avoid obviously coming up. We do 24, so try to avoid that extra shift on a shift. Definitely.
Caveat should be I'm in admin now, so I know if any of my guys are listening, they can be like, "You don't run any calls, dude. You're
Right.
you're at a desk." So for now, I'm trying to get back. But yeah, I did get a break for the last year. I've been in administration.
How much better has your life gotten?
How much better is my sleep? I can say is
there you go.
great. Trying to run a business in my off hours is been extremely stressful. I come home and start my second workday. So it's funny enough, but many times I'm getting less overall sleep because I have to do my chores on the business. It just takes so much time. I don't like complaining about people with kids because they're like world's smallest violin. I don't hear it. Right. So I just, I'm very grateful for the place I work. It's amazing. And I'm really grateful for the work I'm doing on my business, but it is a lot. Yeah. So before we had a 24/72. So I also feel like I'm humble bragging right now. I'm sorry.
That's
But
what I want.
it is the reality here, Steph. And I have 3 days in between my shifts where I can work business if I needed to. So, and just be there for people. I love talking to others around the nation from all these other departments about CBD and sleep. And it's just more readily available when I have those 3 days. And I'm growing the team though, so that's cool. But it's some ways it's really awesome. Other ways like that, it's really tough. I can't wait to go back to the firehouse. And I miss the guys and girls on the shift. I do a lot. So.
You kind of had to slide that one in at the end in case any of them saw this.
Yeah, I do.
Now that you're a captain,
they know I do. Yeah. I go and I have lunch with them whenever I can. Like I try to be around a lot.
That's important to you lose. It take long to kind of get too far out.
I'm also worried about being like out of touch. Oh, forgotten. Yeah, be like, oh, they'll forget me the day after you get me. That's already
day
done.
After somebody goes on modified or like,
who? That's when I walk in, they're like, oh yeah, you still work here? Like,
so
no.
How much planning how do you plan? You have your workload, you have to come home, you have to, run your company. So what do you use to plan and what do you use to kind of manage?
I have an app called Motion.
Okay.
And I put my whole life on that thing. I don't get like any money from this as an ad or anything, but it attaches to my Google Calendar and I plan out like start cooking dinner. Get ready to go to bed.
That's actually awesome.
But it's AI, so if you miss it, it'll reschedule it for you, and it gets to know how quickly you actually accomplish tasks. So if I give myself half an hour, but it takes me an hour, it'll give me a recommended time frame. Because I'll put something in there and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna send these emails out. It's gonna be 30 minutes. And the app's like, do you want to know how long you're actually gonna do this? You procrastinator.
Yeah, I will be downloading that tonight.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty good. It's pretty cool. I was one of those suckers. I got targeted on Instagram for an ad. And it actually is pretty awesome. That's what I use.
Okay.
So I'm horrible. I just set time on my phone for tasks. So that sounds way better. Because what happens is I'll roll off duty. I'll head to sleep. David Rhodes will randomly send me a message saying, hey, can you jump on this meeting for an hour? So I'll still be in sweats with my hair up, exhausted, and it'll be one meeting and then another one. And it's like, oh, but you got to do this and that. So we've just learned to set the alarms, which really isn't the greatest way of doing it.
You know notes? You write notes when you're thinking about things?
I do. I absolutely use the heck out of my notes app, but I'm still learning an organized system. So that whole work-life balance thing, I'm trying to figure that one out. Got thrown into a new role, so now it's like, all right, how do I make all this work? Still trying to figure that out.
You're gonna do great at it. You've kind of already been working in a capacity like that for a while. You've been writing. It's natural for you, I think. It'll be cool. I'm looking forward to it.
It's gonna be fun. Looking forward to. He and I were talking about that earlier. Our whys behind being editors, and especially we're both editors now of health publications. And I think the biggest thing I'm looking forward to is something broke. Helping this next generation. We didn't wreck it. We're fine. Helping this next generation realize you guys are coming in a completely different time. We've now talked about everything. We've talked about the fact that we're dying of cancer, that we're dying of cardiovascular issues, that we're not sleeping, that our diets suck, mental health. We've laid it all out on the table. We might not have the time to fix it or the resources and the know-how. And we're looking forward to this next generation just really helping them step up and, hey, you guys get to fix this, which is something we didn't have the luxury or even the right to do because it was all in hushed tones. So it's out there now, write about it, podcast, whatever. We're creating the spaces for people to do that. And that's so much fun. And it's something we're also going to try to start doing together between the two publications is, listen, we're traveling down the same road. How do we help get everybody so they have that space to, you know what, I'm having this financial issue, mental health issue, whatever. Let me see if another firefighter's written about it. And that's the spaces we really want to be there so that people aren't having to Google something and getting kind of a generic human being answer. It's no, this is the firefighter giving you their experience with those things.
It's been out 4 years. And I remember when I kind of announced that we have a lifestyle and health magazine, and I remember one of the comments was, it's probably just another cookbook. And I thought, I sat back, this is exactly what we've been getting. It's just another cookbook or it's another this. And I'm like, we've been groomed to expect that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is the opposite of that. It's the furthest thing from that. But we have the firefighters look this way long enough to get the fact that it's more than just, it's not a recipe book, right? It's all of these other things that we don't think affect us on a day-to-day basis. And I thought it's always been kind of in the back of my mind. That's, we're used to just getting another cookbook.
Dennis Leary doesn't
Anything
go on the
else-
cover of cookbooks. You
That's
know?
right.
Steve
Yeah.
LeMay doesn't go on the cover of cookbooks.
That's right. And, and I've tried to make the magazine where it's shiny enough and interesting enough for a fighter to pick it up. And, I would say we're trying to mix in the vegetables with the dessert.
It's a visually gorgeous magazine.
Yeah. And it's fun to put together, but it's, and trying to get these different tools,
All the different things.
but, even understanding generational trauma and how much that's affecting the future of things. And you see yourself, your kid, right? And your tendencies, your short fuse maybe at some things. And it's like, why am I doing this? Do I things continue? So it's, there's a lot to unpack in a health and lifestyle environment. And
Just like we were talking about in the beginning about it's the micro steps, right? Like we're not doing the large, big health fad things.
Sure.
None of us believe in that anymore, that were popular for a little while. I was talking to, of all people, John Selka about mental health. And it was funny to hear somebody from that lineage talking about how when guys break down, you got to look at their finances and their family and all that. It was so funny hearing somebody from even that generation realize, no, it's all these tiny things. It's rarely a big event that causes somebody to fall down. It's all these small things that just chip at you along the way. And I think having resources like that just say, hey, here's one step in front of the other in all these different categories that we know firefighters struggle with that can help you along the way to then have a more cohesive health picture. Because you know what? If I'm not sleeping and my finances are in a wreck,
it just compounds everything.
It compounds everything versus, okay, let's bring as many resources as possible in all these categories, make them firefighter oriented, with firefighters writing it. So that way, you know what? You're going through a divorce, or you're not sleeping, or maybe it's a new health diagnosis. We can at least help bring you up in the other categories. So that way you've got more time and energy and emotion to devote to that one category that you need to focus on at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And I mean, it makes me feel good hearing that that's kind of like an understanding now. It's not just the calls, So I think if we worry about that too much, we're gonna miss the forest for the trees here. I mean, you're looking at something like totally missing the mark when it comes to being concerned about where PTSD comes from. That PTS happens, but it doesn't have to lead to PTSD. And then thinking that we just have to focus on checking up on people if they saw a traumatic incident.
Right.
Your life is just as much or more to do than you developing something that's going to be ultimately PTSD or, God forbid, suicide when you are not addressing all that stuff in your life. You're just worried about the calls. It's good.
The best time to learn about these things is when you're not suffering.
Yeah, that's true.
It's when you're in a healthy mindset, you're happy. Let's keep you happy. Right. And, that's the time to learn. And I think firefighters, when we can understand why we should talk about something, we understand why the brain doesn't let things go. We learn these things. We start to say, you know what? Okay, there's a reason why. It's not just me. It's a thing. Right. And if I don't address it or if I don't unpack it somewhere or somehow, it will catch up with me. And, there's even growing your imagination can influence how you handle certain situations. If you have a good imagination, you can see why the body's over here and the head's over here. Your brain can deal with that in a way that someone that says, no, that's not right, I can't, that's not right. I can't deal with this. So there's things that we can do that affect how we process. And I didn't know that when I started this, right?
Yeah.
And that was always kind of the conversation is like, am I one call away from not being able to do this job? I don't know.
Terrifying.
Right.
But
We
that's
all
not
are.
The answer is probably yes. Right. And so that's kind of, it's an exploratory topic. When you say wellness, there's no definitive answers. It's literally a collective of different answers. But even if you have it figured out today, your career is changing and evolving. Maybe you become a captain. That changes a whole bunch of things. And you're now prepping for training and kind of making it's a different day. So you have to make adjustments in your life to absorb that.
Yeah.
But if you're already stressed out, have no capacity for that to absorb that, you've taken on more work, but yet you don't have enough in the tank to do it. And then what we always like to do is we feel like a failure. And we don't want to be a failure. And you know what I mean? So it's like this, it's a cycle.
I think if you have also part of your life that you have play, it like helps.
Ideally.
Ideally. I'll be honest. I'm not afraid of it. Play for me is like
Sure.
when I feel good working on the business.
Sure.
Well, I think something that we haven't done in the past, but I think we're better at focusing on now, is when you write about health and wellness or talk about it, you have to have so many different age categories in there. Because the stuff I had to focus on as a probie versus being a 38-year-old mom of two with multiple spinal injuries now, it's two different categories of health. And it's just all the different things within that health and wellness, the finances when you're younger and you're single versus being a parent, or the pressure that you put on yourself, it's all different. And so we need writers and podcasters and everything in all those categories for all across your career, because it changes. Everything about it changes throughout the course of your career. You're going to run into so many different health and wellness issues that we kind of have to make sure we're not just hearing from one section of voices.
Yeah, definitely.
And vulnerability, that's another whole area that we have to get better at, right? We have to be.
You're saying firefighters aren't known for being vulnerable?
Yeah, that's
We love talking about our
dragon
feelings.
skin, right? Like but
Sitting around the table singing Kumbaya.
yeah, everyone's happy, everyone's smiling, everyone's great, and so it's really, again, being vulnerable. And I was, the saying, it's okay to not be okay, but there's more to that. It's what are you going to do about it? It's, and then, get a mentor, get somebody that you can look up to, have people, maybe it's a financial mentor. Maybe it's like someone that's a firefighter that's retired and you're like, they look like they're living the life that I kind of want to live. They travel, they come and visit the station once in a while. They seem like
They
they've got
look
it
well
together.
rested every time they come
Yeah.
visit the station.
Sure. And then maybe you have someone for fitness that you kind of emulate or want to emulate. They're like, okay, like, I have a routine. It's an amazing routine. I've seen it every day. So, pick your different champions in these different spaces, right? And learn, right? And share. Once you figure it out, right?
Also, I was going to ask, like, what's, you want to be more vulnerable, you want to have mentors. I mean, where does this stuff start? Kind of a rhetorical question, but I mean, there's people listening that are probably thinking, like, these are all well and good ideas. How does this, like, happen throughout an entire fire department?
It's true. Like, well,
As you said, that leads into what we were talking about
it
earlier.
has to be a safe place too, right? It can't be vulnerable to you and then all of a sudden be exploited. So it's like, it has to. It is a system, right? It is a system.
So Corey and I are actually starting a podcast together. Haven't named it. We're shooting,
No way.
You were shooting out names today as the joint editors of two different publications. And we wanted it to focus on people that we see in departments who you've never heard of, but who are just making that difference in their department, so that it can be kind of someone like a mentor where you can say, I can't change this problem in my department. I have no clue how to do it. I have no clue how to get to a 24/72. I have no clue how to implement some sort of body scan for cancer or all the different health things. And to have those people on there to say, no, here's how I did it. Here's how your department can do it too. Because I think that's something that's so important is mentorship, is hearing somebody say, no, this impossible thing that's out of reach is absolutely possible. Here's how you do it.
So it's some kind of leadership, whether it's leadership in the firehouse or informal leadership, that somebody has to basically, take the bull by the horns kind of thing. And I don't know if it has to be the company officer. I'd rather it be like if and when I go back to shift and I'm in charge of a firehouse, that will be a priority of mine is, having that be a place where I can have us challenge each other, in a respectful way and basically be really, really radically candid and say, are you taking care of yourself? Are you, is this a place where if you had to challenge kind of the status quo, could you do that? And know that I'm basically not going to shut you down as a company officer. Stuff like that can change. Yeah, because that's what being, and I think that's a good way to describe it. Like you want to say firefighters need to be vulnerable, and we think like it means I need to tell you when I'm sad. Like that's not all it means. It means you can say, I think what we're doing here is stupid, and we should probably change it, and not worry about somebody coming down on you, your company officer saying like, that's the way we've always done it, kind of thing. You're open-minded to that.
That's the way we've always done it.
It could be a workout. It could be a workout on shift. You're vulnerable enough to say, hey, do you guys want to work out today? Want to start that? Like that's. What if they said no? It's a terrible idea, and you're like, okay, well, I tried. But you know what? I threw myself up. But then that vulnerability to to start. Now you're changing that culture. You're changing that. It starts there, right? And it, vulnerability is courage. It is.
Yeah, man.
And,
Absolutely.
And
because it's not what we always do. It's different.
Yeah. And when you're just
Scary.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah, it can be. Absolutely.
And in order to win, you can't be afraid of losing, right?
Total side note, this has nothing to do with anything right now, but I can't tell you how hard it is to not curse. I don't know if we're allowed to. He's giving me a thumbs up, and then he's also shrugging. These are not.
He's
these are
basically
very
saying,
confusing
hey,
things. Can you give me a thumbs up and a thumbs down? I'm getting a hard no.
So producer's
trying.
outside shaking her head.
I'm getting a hard
No.
I'm trying so hard right now.
Have I accidentally cursed?
It's
Okay,
like, I got a thumbs up, a shrug, yes and no. Let's just go with no.
we're going to go with no.
So on that note, I am trying so hard right now. It's like holding in a sneeze for an hour. But anyway,
I am
didn't
trying
mean
to be
to
aware of it.
Yeah.
We're heathens. I've been fine.
South Florida, yeah. South Florida, like it's a little. I mean, Canadians are stereotypically nice.
I was going to say, Corey's so polite. I've never heard you curse, but you've got Florida man syndrome, so.
Oh yeah.
It happens.
It's real. It's real. Okay, so now I'm going to be.
I appreciate you guys not getting my show taken away from you. That'd be a level of
doing
awkward.
really good. And I have to make sure I don't say anything other than the word stupid. Got it. Okay. I'll remember that.
I think you had a point in there somewhere. Vulnerability.
No.
Not
there was
cursing.
no point. It was totally random because in my head I'm like, oh, this is hard. This is hard. Yeah, this is like the firehouse. Yeah, I said we have to have like when we get people on probation, your final checkoff, like the final test to see if you can hang, you can make it, is you need to start and finish a story at the firehouse table without getting interrupted.
Love it.
Otherwise,
No way.
it's impossible.
No way.
It's like it's an unaccomplishable task. It's more just for their frustration, and maybe that's the lesson.
I
But
might,
like, you're not gonna
have
have
to implement that.
Not gonna happen. You ever try to tell a story that's longer than 30 seconds?
I get interrupted within the first 10
It's a
seconds.
mess. Yeah, it's a mess. So that's the point I had. There is no
I'm
point.
putting that in our Corby manual now.
That's the
Like
point
that.
is there is no point.
Well, the other thing is too. So again, coming back to health and wellness, trying to have
Cursing is healthy. Is that where you were
this
going?
topic and try to make it where a firefighter pays attention long enough to take something away.
That's the other thing.
It's,
Well, and
it's not, these trucks are shiny and tools and tactics and training.
all those things are sexy.
Yeah, and it's so we have to kind of bend in this space.
Well, I think that's where you just really have to make those. You have to buy into technology and trends. You got to make that 30-second reel to just talk about health within 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Make that article a 2-minute read. Kind of have to cater to our short firefighter attention spans that are getting shorter and shorter.
Yeah, and they do. You know what I've noticed, and you can see this. Like, it's really interesting because if you post something, that is, yeah, you have to grab their attention in 6 seconds. But if you grab their attention, it will get watched for a while, right? It's funny, a while being like 2 minutes. But if you post something, I know you've written a lot about, pregnancy in the fire service, and you post something about some of the science behind that, you catch them attention. Maybe they're going to go read the entire blog, or read for an hour, they'll listen. So like, yeah, you gotta catch the attention early because it's just they're scrolling, but once it's there, I always make the joke. I'm like, firefighters, we say we have a 6 second attention span. Be like, dude, I just saw you binge watch like 7 hours. Like movies have never been longer in a theater. Did you see Doom 2? I'll watch it twice in a row. I'm like, that's 7 hours of your life. I like that movie, but I'm saying we have the attention. We're just choosing what we want to aim it at.
It's-
There you go.
it's
You have to
true.
hook, you have to hook,
choice.
you have to hook them after that. Like that. But I think that is kind of the mission, just make it good enough.
I get that all the time. Like you're the busiest person I know, but I'm like, yeah, I'm busy, but I still crushed 80 hours of Breaking Bad. Like, so I don't think it's as bad as it could be, right? Like it still happens.
Yeah.
Still,
What you're saying is if somebody tells me I have no time, I need to be checking their Netflix account.
yeah, maybe.
Saying,
Yeah.
Maybe,
Do that.
Where's that time going?
Yeah, so you can check mine. I zero. I do get slightly offended by the words Breaking Bad because at my department I either get called Scarface or what's the Heisenberg or what's the guy from Breaking Bad? Yeah, I've never actually seen that show. All the funny that's great. Because they're trying to attribute CBD to somehow an illegal narcotic that has nothing to do with CBD, which isn't fair, but it is funny.
But so all the work that we put in, all the work that you're going to put in, all the work that you put in, time away, energy. Like I love this event because you look at the firefighters walking through and all having you're all busy doing their things, and it's like this is why we're doing what we're doing.
Absolutely.
These are the people that you don't see them all the time.
Right.
We're working. But then you come here and you see them smile, happy. We're at, for dinner, and there was a couple having a date in the middle of all these firefighters. Like you couldn't talk it because it was so loud. And they're in the middle. And I thought,
That poor couple.
like bad timing, number
Can
one.
we pay for your drinks?
And then the other one is like, listen to the dynamic happening in this room right now. Like it's just we're explosive.
Yeah.
And we're thriving in that environment. Why? Because we're together, we're having fun, we're out of our stations, we're meeting other like-minded people, right? We're filling our banks. And again, it's just I love it. The days seem so short, and just I don't want it to end,
Yeah, it is a great
I
week.
know it's cheesy, but it's
Say clearly you guys aren't walking around in heels. The days are not short.
I brought my station boots. These are actually the most comfortable things I got.
But it's just, you really have to sit back and say, okay, is all this worth work and time? And the answer is absolutely.
It is.
Absolutely it is. Like every damn day. Like that's the way it is. Yeah.
Definitely one of the reasons I wanted to reach out to both of you to come on this show is because I know this is what you guys spend off doing, is figuring out how to make people that 1% better and to give them the resources and the ways to get that 1% better every day. Thank you guys for doing this with me. I
Yeah,
appreciate
thank
it.
you. Yeah, loved it.
Anything
Keep
else
up
you
the
want to
great
say? I mean, we're going to cut the cameras off so you can curse.
I'm on.
I think so good. No, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for being here. Good. Thumbs up, thumbs down.